You sure did, and that's an understatement. This guy. Do you have?
Sorry, 1 second. My bad.
What's happening, guys? Today we're driving through LA. We're gonna go into the valley, and we're gonna sit down with a gentleman, Paul Rodriguez, or as some of you might know him as PROD. So he is one of the only Nike athletes to have, I think, 10 signature shoes, an incredible professional skater, and incredible entrepreneur. He's been a part of a lot of different brands. He's an investor in a beer company called St. Archer. Just a ton of really, really cool stuff. So we're going to talk to him, husband, father. We're going to dive deep into the entrepreneurship space and why being a dad is so important. Path. I was a real estate investor. Like, I was just.
But that's when now you get that freedom.
Like, it literally pays for all this stuff, and you do whatever I want.
Yeah, and I'm dabbling in that with Mikey now.
So. That's what he said too. Yeah. I'm so pumped because we actually help people do that same thing.
That's cool.
Is so many people get hurt, and I'm like, if you would have just fucking given us $200,000 of your signing bonus, you would have been a 50-50 partner or a 100% partner in your own building, and now you're getting like $3,000 to $4,000 a month for the rest of your life, plus you never touch your principal, and then you could refi your principal out after 3-4 years, and then you put your $200,000 into another building.
Thing.
That's all we're doing. And there's stuff in Cleveland. We've been around Cleveland for like 4 years.
Oh, that's cool.
28 units for $700,000.
That's
cool. Kick off $5,000 a month.
Yeah, Mikey is getting a property out there too.
I was just talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's crazy to see how knowledgeable he's become just in the past year.
What's happening, everybody? Today we are we're just above Northridge, California, for all you listeners that are all over the globe, and we are with a legendary entrepreneur, a legendary skater, and a new friend of mine, and his name is Paul Rodriguez.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Hey, thank you so much for having us in your beautiful home.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming out this way.
No, my pleasure. And we're gonna dive into a lot of different things. We're gonna dive into what it's like being from this area, why it's so important for you to stay in this area, and how your career kind of took off from here and what that looked like. I've done a little bit of research on you, and I know actually a lot about you, but I didn't know how you got started. And it's a fascinating story. So walk us through why skateboarding, and did skateboarding find you, or did you kind of find skateboarding?
I would say skateboarding found me, for sure. I was always a kid who was very active, very had a lot of energy, very physical. So I grew up, trying every sport. I played Little League baseball, and at school I was always playing all the sports that the school offered, like flag football and basketball team. I was just really into playing martial arts as a little kid. And then I got into playing guitar, which is why I have some guitars sitting around here. I got really into guitar out of nowhere one year when I was about 8, and that just became my hobby. But then skateboarding, when I went to a new school in 7th grade, I saw skaters outside in front of the school, and I thought it was the coolest looking thing I had ever seen, and I had to try it. So I was always the type of kid, when I got into it, I became hyper obsessed with it, and it was like, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, I'm telling you. And then just the next hobby would always come along. I'm still the same way. Yeah. But skateboarding came, and just nothing else was able to take my focus for 20 years. So it just for whatever reason, it was that thing that, like, nothing else seemed more interesting to me than riding a skateboard. And I was very blessed and took it all the way, man. That is a literal understatement, because you have
Do you have 10 signature shoes with Nike?
Yeah.
10. Who else has 10?
Kobe, LeBron,
Kobe
Kevin
and
Durant.
LeBron and Kevin Durant.
Let's see, there's a couple more. I'm spacing. I don't know why, but I think there's only 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
And they're all basketball players, and just
and
the
you.
lonely skater. Yeah.
And you.
And they're all like 6 foot. 8, 9, 10, whatever, and I'm the only one under 6 foot.
Yep. And that's just like, it's the most humble statement ever to say, yeah, I just took it all the way. But you took it all the way with like one of the biggest iconic brands in the world and of our time. So for you, what was the draw to skating? Like, because for me, I was huge into BMX and huge into just like all that stuff. And all my friends were skaters, and I skated a little bit, but I rode and raced all over the country. And it's probably the only reason why like I had so much respect for like skating, and they had respect for me because we had sponsors and we were both going so hard. But for me, I found the freedom that I'd never experienced before. Yeah.
So there's a few things. I mean, what first drew me into skateboarding was just seeing the kids I saw at school, like in the mornings or after school. When I would get to school, I would see them skating in the parking lot. And at first it was like when you see a magician do a magic trick, you're like, how do you do that?
Right.
Like, how do they flip the board, catch it, land back, keep riding? How do they keep the board stuck to their feet? I was like obsessed. Like, I need to know how that's done. I have to understand that.
Right.
So that was the first thing that drew me in. And then once I started trying it for myself and like really like having a lot of fun doing it, I realized like I didn't have to rely on anybody. Of course I liked skating with friends, but like on the weekends, you know, you're 12 years old, you don't have a car, you can't really go that many places.
You just roll out. Yeah,
on the weekends, it was just like, I just need a patch of concrete and a skateboard, and I can do this all day for hours. If I don't have any friends I can link up with, whatever. I didn't have to wait on anybody. You know, you play baseball, you need somebody else to play with.
Teams and coaches and practice, and then you play on Saturday.
Yeah, and it just was always relying on other people being involved. So, like, as hyper obsessed as I get with stuff, I got to do it all the time, when I want, how I want. And so skateboarding just lent itself really well to that. I could just spend hours all by myself skating, and I wouldn't even notice time passing by. But then as I became friends with the kids at school who were the other skaters, and we would link up and skate together, like I would have so much fun going to my friend's house, staying the night. And then in the backyard, some of my friends like had you know, like little skate boxes, little fun boxes and ramps, and I would stay there all the time and just skate like crazy. But I don't know, I guess to me it was just the freedom of not having to wait and rely on anybody, and just being able to do it like at an obsessive rate without anybody else getting burnt out on it. Like, all right, let's take a break or whatever. Like, it was just go time all the time.
And it's so funny because that is the exact reason why most people start huge companies and start businesses. This whole world, that's why I've been fascinated with skating for so long. It lends itself so perfectly to business. Like, you will try tricks all day, weeks, sometimes months, stacking, crashing, nothing works. And then finally that day you get your trick.
Yeah.
No cameras rolling, nothing. You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
But you hit your trick, you feel good for a couple seconds, and then you're like, what's next?
On to the next, yeah.
Very much like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of parallels.
Right. So I love when certain people that are in sports, and we help a lot of athletes not blow their signing bonuses and try to get them into really good pieces of real estate. So if they get hurt, which for most athletes is inevitable, at some point you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right
now I'm recovering from an injury myself.
I was just going to say, and wasn't that like your first big
major
one?
Injury? Yeah. I tore my ACL, meniscus, and MCL tendon in my right knee, which is pretty standard for athletes. That's a pretty common injury. Like
LeBron and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, a lot of guys have had that, you know what I mean? And so it's definitely a recoverable injury, but it's definitely the first time I've had to face. I've never had surgery or anything like that. So yeah, I'm lucky it didn't happen 10, 15 years ago on my come up. But yeah, it's an interesting challenge.
And that's actually a perfect segue. So how has that been for you to slow down? Because for me, I'm usually the hardest to be around when I'm injured or if something's happened. Yeah.
And my girl will agree to that.
Right. And I can't do what I've been obsessing about for so long.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been a challenge. And about 10, 12 years ago, I got really deep into yoga and meditation to help with that. because I was a bear. Like if I was injured and I was training for a sport or a race or something I was really competing in, and I got hurt, I was just, I took it really hard.
Oh yeah, I agree. I can totally relate with that. I'm the same way. I mean, this injury, especially the first couple months after it happened, was really tough for me. You know, like I felt really lost, really confused, especially like, you know, most athletic careers, you know, there's only a certain window that you can do at such a high level. And I'm at that weird age where it's like, I'm not young buck. I'm not in those early stages. I'm, you know, now I'm 34, you know, this happened last June. So I was 33 at the time when it happened, but I'm at this stage where it's like, I'm not over the hill, but I'm not definitely not under the hill. And then I was kind of confused. Like, is this a sign? Like, is this a sign to start looking in other directions? And, you know, should I start thinking about different things? Or is this a sign as a challenge to, like, you know, dedicate yourself, rise up, come back stronger? Where's your heart at? Where's your mind? I was already in a really confused state anyway prior to the injury, because I was already in a state of mind of like, you know, I'm very thankful for everything I've accomplished in skateboarding. I've had, as far as skateboarding is concerned, a long career, you know, many accomplishments, much further than I ever thought I was at as a 12-year-old, ever thought was ever coming, you know. And so I got to this point where I was kind of like, well, I don't really have much more to prove. I feel like I've proven myself. I feel like I've accomplished everything and then some that I wanted to do. So where's my heart? Do I still want to keep pushing myself to get better? Or is it time to kind of like bow out gracefully and look in the other direction? I was already feeling that way and having those questions, and I was skating a lot, but it was kind of more on like autopilot. It was kind of more like on just like, I'm just doing what I already know how to do, and
safety mode. You were kind of playing it safe, right?
Yeah, it wasn't really thinking in the state of mind anymore of like, gotta keep pushing, gotta keep going, gotta keep. So you know, when the injury came along, it really threw that whole thought process into a tailspin. You know, of course. So those first couple months were tough, man. I didn't know. You know, I'm laying up in bed, can't physically move. Never had this happen to me before. You know, my girlfriend, thank God for her, she's waiting on me hand and foot. But like, you know, I'm grumpy and at that point and not easy to deal with. And
I get it, man.
Yeah. And so, you know, there was some rough times there. But, you know, actually, our good friend Drama was a guy who who actually gave me some really cool advice. We were here one night just hanging out, and I was just kind of like, yeah, man, I don't know, I feel confused, lost, whatever. And he was, you know, he's done a lot of awesome work on himself these last few years and really grown into like a really special person. I mean, he was always a special guy, but he's really evolved, you know?
Agreed.
And he was just telling me, like, you know, you got to like lean into that pain. You got to go into that pain and like let it exist in you. Don't try to block it out. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to ignore it or
all the
bounce
gems
around it. Yeah, he's like that confusion. Yeah, exactly. That's where all the gems are. That's where you're gonna find the answers. And I was hearing him, and I know like that's right. But at that moment, I was just like, but man, it's so hard. But man, I don't feel like it.
And it's true, because we get so tied into who we are, and especially as athletes, and you're a super athlete and I'm not even close.
Thanks.
But what you do is you have so much of who you are wrapped up in you as an athlete. So like when you retire or if you get injured, you like there's a grieving process. Even if you're hurt and you're coming back in 6 months after surgery, there's still that grieving process of like,
it's like a death of yourself.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So it's always good to be around people like Drama that have done some work on themselves to have those deeper conversations. Because usually just like your boys are just like, you're fine, let's just drink some beers and you'll be fine. Yeah. Or it's like, let's go inward and find out what this is about and maybe get some answers to kind of help you move forward.
Absolutely, man. And everything he told me that night really stuck with me. And it's really helped me through the process. Like here I am now, I'm about 4 months out of surgery. Probably about another 4 months until the doctor clears me to skate, so I can finally see
the light.
Yes, at the end of the tunnel. It's right there, you know. But at first, when the doc was telling me, like, yeah, this is going to be about a year process, it just seemed like an eternity, and I couldn't see the end of the tunnel. And it just, I was like, I can't. I've never been off my skateboard longer than a month. My worst injury maybe is a sprained ankle. And, you know, you take 3 weeks, maybe a month off, and you come back, and you're good. So, like, this was a real kicking the balls for me.
Well, it's crazy to see like the check, right? So like you kind of get checked, and it's almost like the universe or God, whatever you believe in, is just like, okay, what are you going to do with this?
Right.
We're going to watch.
Yeah.
We're going to see how you handle this.
And it's cool because I've spent a lot of time studying different figures, different people. Like, I grew up in the house I live in. It was with my mom, and I was pretty much the only kid who lived there. I was not a single child. I have a half sister and a half brother, but I didn't grow up in the house with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent a lot of time on my own, a lot of time in my room. Like early on, I remember my earliest heroes were Bruce Lee and Michael Jordan. You know, so as soon as I saw Bruce Lee, that's what got me into martial arts as a little kid. Like,
me too.
I want to be like him, or Michael Jordan. I want to, like, I didn't even play basketball, but I just,
me either.
something about him just made me, resonated with me,
It's because he had that thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's indescribable. You're like, that dude has it.
Right. And so, like, I've spent my whole life looking up to figures like that and looking at and adopting them as my older brother type figures. And, like, for me to finally get in this position as a grown man, and I would feel pretty pathetic if I let it swallow me up and just go in the downward spiral, because I look at it as like, what would all my heroes do? All of them had faced, all of them faced adversity. All of them had crazy things that they had to bounce back from. And I'm like, you spent all this time studying these people, and like when times are good, it's easy to think like, yeah, I'm on the right path. But when you get tested, that's when you realize, oh man, like, do I have what it takes? Yeah, do I have that in me? So it's been really interesting, and I've come to actually find and look at this injury as a blessing now.
Dude, it's such a blessing. And this is going to give you like a little more metal and like a little more armor to deal with other things in life, because this was hard physically.
Right.
And the physical stuff that we go through and we overcome the physical injury that's matched up with all the mental drama that comes with it.
It's powerful.
Dude, it makes you so strong.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that this is like the direction this conversation was going to go, but it was supposed to like be this way for a reason, because there's a lot of people that go through this and they do get stuck and they start eating pills like Tic Tacs.
Oh, dude.
And then
that was scary for me. I'd never taken pills before until surgery.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a very slippery slope for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because you're already bummed emotionally, and those pills take away all the pain.
Yeah, they take away the physical and emotional pain. It's true.
That's right.
I found myself looking forward to every 4 hours.
For sure.
Yeah, it was like, 4 hours, all right, time for a Percocet, like.
And I can deal with this now.
Right, and it was scary. Like, luckily going into it, I was like, told myself like, all right, dude, be careful with these pills. You've seen too many people go down that road.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the doctors prescribed me one batch of pills that lasted me the first 4 weeks, and I make sure, okay, don't take them any more than every 4 hours as prescribed. And then as time went on, I started taking only like 2 a day, and then 1 a day, and then after that first bottle was gone, the doc asked me if I wanted another prescription. I was like, no, thank you. Like, like I can understand why people. They're good. It's good.
They're amazing.
You like it. Yeah, you love it. And so I was just like, all right, dude, I cannot let this lead me down that path. That's not the way I'm trying to go.
Of course. And that happens to a lot of huge superstar athletes. Some go one way, some go the other, but that's their path. Like, it's not wrong. It's not bad or wrong. But for you, you're like, look, this is going to get me through the part where it physically hurts. It's going to take off some of the heat for all the drama going on upstairs because I'm just bummed. Mm-hmm. And then you just roll.
Yeah. But I looked at it going in like it's just a Band-Aid.
It's because you had a plan.
Yeah,
Ish.
Not until I talked to Drama, and then he kind of like set my thinking in a different way, and then it was like, okay, yeah, dude, like if you really aspire to be like all these people you looked up to growing up, then I mean, now's the time to prove it. Now's the time to like, rise.
Dude, the comeback is so sweet. Like, I mean, I've been on some crazy ups and downs in my life. I've been super successful in a bunch of different areas, and then poor, and then and then in sports and like just in life. I don't know, for me, like the comeback and then to bring all the stuff I learned with me to share it. That's why I'm doing this podcast. Like, I'm sharing my story, and I'm sitting down with people like you sharing your story, and being vulnerable and just being able to share that story is powerful, man.
Yeah, man. It's something that, being in that type of position is almost like an obligation to do.
I feel a massive responsibility.
Right. It's definitely an obligation. And you know, I'm not out of the woods yet, but I feel really, really good about where I'm at mentally now. I feel good where I'm at physically. So I decided, you know, to double down and see where I can go with this. Like, I've fallen so much more in love with skateboarding when I couldn't do it.
For sure.
You know, and it's hard to even admit that I had got to that point of like kind of complacency after all those years of dedication. The 12-year-old would have been really upset with the 33-year-old
Right.
version of me, you know. And so now having this kind of like removed from me made me really like, you know, really reappreciate skateboarding and really mentally recommit to it. So now, you know, I'm really, all right, from the beginning, I've been really dedicated to my physical therapy and making sure that I stay in good physical condition during the healing process so I can come back, you know, strong. And now the challenge to me is like, I look forward to coming back and seeing how much more I can push myself. Can I improve? Can I grow? Can I get better and still add more to the legacy of whatever I've been able to build, or add a new chapter into my skateboarding career? And to me, I found excitement in that. I look forward to that. I look forward to that challenge. So that's the path I've decided to go.
Smart, man. What? It's new and it's exciting and it's something that's like you've never actually experienced before.
Right.
So, and this is like another really good segue, and then we're going to tie back into what you just said. You've had an incredible career skating, incredible, and you've also been around some great people to kind of help you. Because I'm a huge proponent of mentorship. I had like one of the best mentors of my life when I was 19 years old.
That's awesome.
Just a great old guy, and he just kind of took me under his wing, and he taught me about real estate and just taught me about life and just being a good person.
Definitely
very,
important.
very humble, very successful guy. And I just learned from him. And it was incredible for me to be around those kind of people. Who was really like maybe the top 2 or 3 or 4 people that just changed your game? Because so many people that get big checks when they're young, that have a ton of limelight like you did, go in a very different direction.
Yeah. It's like a hodgepodge of people.
Yeah, me too. So I get it.
Yeah. So like growing up, I was fortunate enough. You know, my father's pretty well known stand-up comedian. I grew up well off, and I had an example in front of me of someone living their dream, someone who earned good living. And so I had a chance to learn from the positives and the negatives of that situation. And I remember my father always telling me when I first started making what I thought was good money at the time. I remember him telling me, like, son, it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep.
I say that all the time. It's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep.
Yeah.
Taxes, how much can you keep?
I didn't understand taxes for the first 5 or 6 years.
Sure.
I would be like, what? How come? What do you mean? What do you mean? I just made all this time. Well, how come I don't have that money anymore? Like,
That's right.
yeah. So that was the first piece of advice I remembered. And then I remember my Uncle Dave. He lived with us most of my life growing up. And he was kind of like another father figure in my life. Took me to all my skateboard contests when I was little kids and let me use his camcorder to go out and film with my friends. But I remember he told me, like, you know, at one point he's like, yeah, I like to save up about a year's worth of salary, just in case I lose my job or whatever. I have a year to figure things out, you know. For some reason, that stuck with me a lot as a young kid.
That's great advice, man.
It was a cool one, and so that stuck with me. And that was just early on, just like things that stuck when I wasn't necessarily even really thinking that way, you know. So when I first started making a little bit of money, those things were in the back of my mind. I did early on, you know, do some spending, but it wasn't to the crazy level, because those 2 statements were kind of like a governor, and they kind of like stopped me from going too far, you know. So that early on was really as far as financial mentorship was my early bit of that. But then, like, for me, I swear, like Bruce Lee and Michael Jordan, those were my mentors growing up. You know, I had I had mental conversations with these guys. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, and then my favorite skaters who I would grow up watching, Eric Koss and Tom Penny, Andrew Reynolds. Like, these are the guys I would study, and like I would kind of like, even though I didn't personally know them, I would kind of like create a relationship with these guys, you know, internally. And like even still to this day, like as I grow up and I look up to different people from all various walks of life, I look at them as my mentors or older brother figures, you know, and stuff like that. But then just recently in the last, I'd say, well, actually one person I don't want to forget to mention is Nigel Alexander, who is actually the uncle to my daughter. He took me on early when I was about 13. He was the first friend I had who can drive. He's a few years older than me. And he had the first friend I had I can drive, and he's the first friend I had with a good camera that knew how to edit. And he always mentored me a lot with skateboarding, and he pointed out like, hey man, here's the guys you wanna watch and learn and study from. You know, here's the, you know, the to-dos and not to-dos. Here's like, he taught me about style, taught me about, you know, it's not about doing the hardest trick in the world. It's about how you make it look.
Well,
and
the style of
yeah,
skating is massive.
It's massive. So like he pointed me in the right direction as far as like where to push myself in skateboarding. So that's huge for me because a lot of stuff he taught me early on carried with me to this day. And then more recent years, as far as in business, I look at my business mentor as Mitch Bhatia, who is our CFO, CEO of Primitive Skateboards right now. And he came into Primitive through another one of my business partners when we were going through rough times. We had a lot of good momentum, but we didn't know how to hold it together on the infrastructure side of things.
Happens a lot in business. I get it.
So he came in and really helped us restructure, reorganize, and really get us out of the mud. And he's just been really cool in helping me in a lot of different areas, not just in Primitive, but a lot of different areas financially and otherwise to like set myself up for that next step. So he's a guy I really heed a lot when he tells me when he gives me advice and things. I really take it to heart and try to implement it into my life. So those are just some of the people along the way who've kind of made a big impact on me.
Yeah, no, it's smart, man. And for all of you listeners out there, he made so many great points, and there was one that was free. He looked up to Michael Jordan and Bruce Lee. Like, you can model these people. And now with the internet, you can go read their books. You can listen to podcasts. Like, there's no excuse out there to stay stuck.
Yeah.
It's a big part of my message is helping people just unlock new belief systems that are real.
I agree.
And you can create so much with your mind if you unlock what's keeping you stuck.
It's crazy. It's all a mental game, man. All of it. I'm very lucky, thank God. You know, like I was just attracted to a certain type of person or a certain type of information growing up that I just saw these people, I saw them doing these things, and I just had to do something amazing as well.
Right.
I just had that feeling that I wanted to do something amazing. So
it's important to listen to your gut too. So like there was like, you know, somebody, and then there was Nigel, and then there was your dad and your uncle, and you're like, you know what? They're right. But your core said they were right, and I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
So, and that goes good and bad. That internal intuition is so important.
Yeah.
And that dialogue that you have around that inside is so important.
It's crazy. And I think most of us, I don't think I really started learning about this until I got a little bit older, but most of us don't even understand the power we have within and how to even utilize it, how to even use what we have. You know, we're kind of just a lot of us are just on autopilot for so long.
My whole 20s were literally on money and just ego and how much can I build and me. And then I turned 30 and was like, how can I give it all back? And how can I build this legacy? And that's when everything shifted for me. And a huge piece of why I'm doing these podcasts, why I'm putting out so much content, because I do have 2 little kids. And their great grandkids are going to get to go on whatever they go on, pull me up and listen to what I had to say and know how passionate I was.
Isn't that cool? We live in a time where that can happen.
Yes. Like, and I always get goosebumps even talking about that because I embrace that responsibility, but there's days where I don't want to. I've got businesses. I'm so busy. And I'm like, what about Jackson's great-great-grandkids? Then what? And I'm like, but get your ass up. And like that little story plays in my head.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Like I get to create and then share. and then help other people. We're writing books. It's just fun.
It's really cool, man. And that just sounds like you're just following where your heart tells you to go, following, you know, where the path is laid out for you, you know?
I try to keep it simple because for so many years I didn't. And now I just go where the light is. Like if it's easy-ish, I'll stay in that. And I'll usually use like the pain as the bumpers.
Right.
And I'm like, how come I'm so like pissed and bummed right now? Well, I'm spending too much time in the wrong direction.
Right.
So I love those governors because they're so easy to feel. If I'm short with somebody or if I'm pissed off, it's like, what happened? Oh, I missed my meditation this morning. I didn't work out. I can tell now because I have markers. So when you're doing a trick or a video or a movie, how important is to set those targets and those goals for those tricks? Or do you kind of write stuff out way beforehand? Or is it more of just like a feel of the moment? Or is it something that has to do with what the brand's looking for?
You know, early on, it was just by the seat of my pants, just I'm going where the energy takes me, you know? And then as I became more professional, then I started realizing the value of, you know, planning and structure and organizing. And I'm like, this injury has actually taught me a lot about that, and discipline.
Funny how that happens, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, as far as when it comes down to skating, I get ideas all the time. I could be laying in bed and a trick idea will come into my mind, especially because I can't skate for another few months. I'll write it down like, okay, well, I won't remember this in 8 or 9 months when I can finally skate, so I should write it down. So I started,
lay out that line.
I'll just like have a trick idea or a spot I saw on Instagram, somebody skateboarding. Ooh, take a screenshot of that and write it down and like go back to that spot when you're better or whatever. So like I definitely write ideas down and keep ideas, but I don't make it so rigid and structured that like this is the definite plan, because I still like kind of like that, almost like that kind of jazz, you know, where you kind of just go with the flow. I like to have that element. I like a hybrid of it, you know, like I want to know where I'm going. I don't necessarily need to have the exact detailed instructions on how I'm going to get there. I'm
the same way.
You know what I mean? Like I know I want to end up there and I'm going to do what I think is going to get me there. But sometimes when you get to that point, you're like, wait, no, this is the better route. And so I still do that.
Because there's so much magic in that flow, right?
Yeah.
That's when like the cool stuff happens. Where you're like, I had no idea I was going to end up over there, but I'm really glad I did.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with life. Like so many people get stuck with the first bit of failure. It's like, don't stop, just course correct. Like you're injured right now, but you're still writing down lines and tricks and things you're going to do. So you're stopped from skating physically,
right?
But you're not mentally.
I'm skating all day mentally. Right? Yeah, I skate so much, especially when I'm driving. I'm just like
daydreaming.
I'm skating. I'm just skating, fully skating a session in my mind.
Yeah. That's a huge point that I really want you guys to stop and listen to. Is he's injured. People get injured. Things happen in life where you can't do exactly what you're trying to do, but you're still thinking about it. So you're still moving the needle forward. You might just not be in the fast lane doing 110. You're in the slow lane doing 40.
But you're
still
moving
going down the road.
But you're moving.
People get stuck in that stuff, and it breaks my heart to see people get stuck in that victim mentality. Woe is me, and oh, my sponsor. Every excuse you can possibly think of. And so that's going to lead me kind of into the next question is, how important was it for you to start your career outside of skateboarding? Because skateboarding is a marketing and branding machine.
Yeah.
I grew up with it way before it was even close to where it is now. But it's a huge part of culture across the globe now. It's like hip hop and skating. You know what I mean? And they work very, very well together. But how important was it for you to really just kind of make that shift where it's like, I need to make this money work for me long term?
Right. Major, super important. Once I got to an age where I started where my body would start feeling soreness. Right. Where you would be like, hey, what's that?
I just slammed on her for 3 days.
Yeah, like how come? Not even that bad. Just to the point where you start like you'll skate and the next day you're like, why
your
are my
muscles
legs
are sore?
Yeah, like that's weird. That's never happened before. Once I started realizing that happens, I'm like, oh no. That's when like the small little bug of like, yeah, dude, you can't do this
creeping
for everybody.
Up,
like, up. And I'm just like, ah, shit. So, But I've always kind of had I guess an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm really timid on saying that because I don't necessarily consider myself like the quintessential entrepreneur. I'm still like in training. I'm not like the guy going out and making it happen. But
you can smell an opportunity.
Oh yeah. But yes, for sure.
And that's half the battle of being an entrepreneur, especially an investor.
I agree with you on that. But as a kid, I remember I used to take my old skateboards, sand them down, and draw my own logo. I had an idea for a skate brand called Revelation Skateboards. I wanted to have my own team. My friends and I would sand our skateboards down and draw with markers our logo. That was early on. And then my uncle Dave, again, who was always there supporting me in that aspect, he actually put up the money, and we actually made a real skate brand called Mirage Skateboards. And he put up, I don't know, must have put up a few grand at the time. And we printed out boards and graphics at a proper manufacturer. I would go into skate shops and like ask them like, hey, can you, would you guys be interested in selling my boards? And like a couple of them were nice and put them on consignment. Of course. And stuff like that. So I kind of had that desire early on. But then once I really started getting traction as a professional skateboarder, that kind of like took a back burner. Probably when I was about 23 is when it really started kicking in. Like, all right, I got to make this work. Like, I can't do this forever. And I don't want to have to change up my lifestyle. Like, I like the schedule I have as a skateboarder.
That's the fear that creeps in. You're like, I don't want to give up any of this cool shit I got.
Yeah, I don't want to give up not only the cool shit, but even the freedom that comes along with it. Yeah, like, sure. Especially at 23, I was sleeping in till like 11, 12. Then I would go skate all day long, be very productive, get lots of photos and footage, and go to contests and do good at them. And then stay up all night watching movies or whatever I wanted to do, 3 or 4 in the morning, fall asleep. And it was just my own schedule, my own time, as long as I got my work done. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I don't ever want to have to not be able to do that. Right. You know what I mean? I don't ever have to be like waking up at 6 a.m. and have to show up, clock in at a job. I'm not built for that. I would go into a depression. I would freak out. I don't know what I would do. It just wouldn't be good. So that's when I started, thinking that way and making a little, I had my accountants and made a little retirement fund and all that stuff. But my partner in Primitive now, he was the one who called me early on when I got on Nike and says, hey, we got a good opportunity here. Let's open up a sneaker shop. You're with Nike now. We can sell the best sneaker, blah, blah, blah. And that was when I was 19, and I was like, nah, dude, I'm not ready for all that. Sounds like too much. But he hounded me for like 3 or 4 years. And finally I was like, damn, man, he's been on me persistent. Like, he must really want to do this. Like, this must be. So finally I was like, you know what? If he feels as passionate as he does about this as the way I do about skateboarding, this will probably work. Yeah, this will probably work. That was my early meter on how to do businesses. Like, if this person feels the same way about this that I feel about skateboarding, then it's guaranteed.
I'm so glad you said that, because we talked about this a lot with Drama and a whole bunch of other people. I vet the person way more than the product.
Right.
If I'm going to invest in a company, if I'm going to invest in a product, anything, I vet the face off of who's ever going to be operating it, basically based on exactly what you just said. If they can't breathe without doing this, it's going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're like, okay, this is good. Because, some people would be like, well, you got your name and we can just open up a store and your name's just going to bring people in.
And they want to use you for leverage.
Yeah.
Not their hard work.
Right. And it's like, we're just going to open a store and your name's just going to make people come in.
Nope.
And I'm like, yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but like, that's not sustainable.
There's an element of that.
For
but
sure.
Like, you got to be able to execute on the back end of that. And at the time, I didn't understand that. But
of course.
But now, at about 23, after 4 years of him hounding on me, that was my early business investing gauge. Is like, yeah, okay, he's as passionate about this as I am for skating. Let's try it out. So we tried it out. We opened up a sneaker shop. It was going pretty well. And then we evolved into like doing clothing, and then eventually evolved into making skateboards. And so we're still around. It's 10 years later. It's been a rough journey, but finally we're getting to a point where like things are really starting to take place.
And that was a 10-year journey?
That was a 10-year journey.
That was a 10-year journey, folks.
Just till now.
He didn't just like roll out as a very well-known pro athlete sponsored by Nike with funding and a friend who had tons of passion. It still took 10 years. The patient game is real.
I mean, dude, the way I look at it is like 10 years is going to pass anyway. Might as well have something to show for it.
100%.
Right? Like,
and people forget, like, you can literally go from beginner to mastery in 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In a lot of different things.
Oh, dude, you can do it in less time than that even.
Way less.
But yeah, man, and as I get older, I don't know if it's because I have a kid now, but like 10 years isn't what it used to be in my mind. It's like almost too fast now.
I tell everybody, if you want life to go by at light speed, have children.
Yeah.
My kids are 3 and 5.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it's blowing my mind how fast that went.
Like the gauge is just I remember being a kid and be like, oh, it's going to be forever till I'm an adult. And now I'm like, oh my God, my daughter's 10 years old. What am I going to do? In another 10 years, she's going to be 20. She's going to be a full adult. This is crazy. It's going by too fast. And I'll be panicking. You know what I mean?
And that's real because she's still in that very cool age where she still thinks you're a superstar. Like you're a superhero.
I only got about a year or two left of that.
And that's why I am literally home at 3 o'clock every day,
that's
unless
awesome.
I'm doing something like this, which is super rare for me, because I know how precious that time is.
It's crazy how precious
it was a conscious choice for me to, like, as soon as my wife got pregnant, I moved my company home.
That's awesome.
Just to be like close to that, because it's so important. Because I know because my whole life I'm not close to my dad, but I had a lot of friends who had millions of dollars but no relationship with their kids, and then they try to get it back when they're in college.
Doesn't work, man. Doesn't work, man. It's like, because at that point your kid will become self-sufficient in the sense of like, I can like, relate a lot to that.
I'm out. I got it. I don't need you.
Yeah.
I have a job. I'm 12.
Yeah. And it's not even like I love my father, but we're not super close. But it's like, as an adult now, it's like, since I didn't see him all the time when I was a little kid, it wasn't even like a negative thing, but like I learned to not feel that need to be attached to him or to have to see him all the time or hear from him. Like I learned to just keep it moving. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like that'll happen. So yeah, it's very important for me. My daughter right now, she's at gymnastics class, but it's very, very important for me to spend as much time as I can with her. And it took me a few years to learn that, though, because early on, I had her. I was 23, about to be 24, so I was still a kid myself. And
I couldn't imagine. I'm literally 42. Mm-hmm. And I told my wife when we were leaving the hospital, I go, I am so glad I'm 36 right now and not 26, because I was a very different human being.
Right. It's like you're in your 20s. I mean, I still feel like a kid. I'm 34.
Of course,
you know what I mean? But like at 23, like I was literally a kid. I was in the mind frame of a kid. I rode a skateboard for a living. I'd been doing the same thing I've been doing since I was 12. Like it keeps you young mentally and physically. Like I was a kid. So it took me a few years to really realize like the reality of what it means to be a parent,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm lucky I got a grasp on it early on, but at first it was just like, because I was traveling all over the world, not with my child's mom, and so I would just see her here and there, and then like I just knew it couldn't be like that. It can't stay like this,
right?
Because I saw the pattern, like, oh my God, this is exactly what happened with me and my dad.
He's traveling. He's putting on shows. You're traveling, skating.
Yeah.
You're like, this is about to repeat. Nope.
Yeah, I was like, I need to be there, especially for a daughter. I feel like, daughters, they need that father figure, you know what I mean? To like give them that certain type of, self-respect or whatever, And so it became very important to me. And once I moved here and everything was real stable, and thank God for my lovely girlfriend now, she kicked my ass into shape and put me in the right state of mind and everything to really step my game up even further. So it's really cool, the relationship I have with my little one. I'm really proud and happy, and I'm really
dude, your face just lit up, man. Like you guys can't see this because you're listening, but you guys over there on YouTube, this man's face just lit up, and that's what it's all about, man. Like
nice.
Like you're building this legacy. Mm-hmm. Every day, because you have to choose it. You have to choose like to be a dad. You have to choose to be like completely all in with your girl.
Yeah.
You got to choose to be all in with your business partners. This is a choice. Like you can choose to just like chill and play video games for the rest of your life, or you can choose to build some big shit.
Yeah.
And you're choosing the right thing over and over again, even on the hard days.
That's my goal. And you know, when you look at life and you really zoom back at life and you see everything is like, there's really no right or wrong answer. If you're in a position you want to just sit back and scratch your ass and watch TV all day, there's really nothing wrong.
Cool, agreed.
If you're happy in your heart, like truly content and happy, then you're happy. Ultimately, that's the goal, right?
That's everything.
You just want to be happy.
That's it.
You want to enjoy this life. Every day you wake up, you go to bed, you want to enjoy it, right? So if that's truly something that makes you happy, there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like, especially if like somehow you're in a position where you can support yourself and just watch TV all day and scratch your ass and eat Doritos. Good for you, man. There's no rule book that says that's not good. Personally, it's not for me. Personally, I just get a thrill off of, you know, pursuing the things I'm pursuing and cultivating the relationships that I'm cultivating. But I just want to live life happy. I just want to, every day, I want to wake up excited, enthusiastic. Every night when I go to bed, I want to look forward to the next morning and get it going. So that's all I go off of, is just that. What gives me that, when I have an idea and that feeling comes inside of me, then I'm like, okay, then I become a slave to that idea or that 100%, feeling. 100%, you know man. I mean?
And it's so much easier to make a decision because that feeling is inside of you and you're like, okay, shit, it's time to go.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
And then you move all in.
Yeah. And
that blind faith does what it's going to do.
Yeah, dude.
Like whatever.
Every time.
So that's another segue into, you got into branding and marketing because that's your world as a skater. Like that's just entrenched in you. And then you got some partners and decided to do beer.
Yeah.
And the backstory is really cool. So I'm not going to butcher it. I'm going to let you kind of talk to like how you got involved with it. But that brand has exploded. We actually pour, I think, one, if not two lines at the bar.
Nice.
At the Good Bar and Eatery, the greatest bar in all of Long Beach.
Stop by. Check us out.
Shameless plug. And so please just tell us that story because it's really cool.
Yeah. So it was about 2011. And Josh Landon and Mikey Taylor, they both gave me a call and said they had a great idea and do you want to meet up? And I had known Josh Landon because he used to make these films, ironically enough, for like schools called Natural High. And he would interview athletes and ask them like, why do you choose not to do drugs or things like that? And they show them
like
in schools.
After school special kind of thing.
Kind of videos they would show at school. And he had interviewed me once for that. And it's ironic that we're making beer, you know, but not that, you know, there's anything wrong with that. But so then him and Mikey actually ended up meeting separately on a surf trip. Mikey's big into surfing, and Josh originally was a surf filmmaker. So he went on a trip with Mikey with some friends, mutual friends. They met, they hit it off together.
He's such a good dude. Mikey's such a
good such a good guy. Both of them are good guys. And they just had this kind of entrepreneurial spirit they recognized in each other. And they were talking about, like, from what they tell me, like, the conversation was like, wow, you know, we should try and do a company. What should we do? Backpacks? Nah, not that exciting. We should do sunglasses? Nah, so many of them. What are we going to do? A clothing brand? Too many of those. And then, like, I guess they were in their hotel room and, like, they were right about to go to bed. I guess one of them clicked the light off. They're going to bed, and then all of a sudden, put the light on. Beer! And I was like, well, there's no beer brands in skateboarding, right? Like, yeah, we love drinking beer, don't we?
We sell so much beer at the bar to skaters.
Right.
We skate all day, skate to the bar, and drink beer.
Right. So they got super hyped on the idea. And on the drive back from that trip, I forget where they were, up north somewhere. And they're like, we got to call Paul. So they called me. I met up with them at a local Starbucks. We talked about it. And I was just like, sounds great. Let's do it. Still kind of in that naive state of mind, but also just it felt right, you know? And so we started immediately exploring together. Me, Josh, and Mikey, we took a drive up to this brewery called Indian Wells. Because at first we were going to do like contract brewing. Like, yeah, we'll just, these people manufacture, we'll just do the logo, private label, boom, boom, boom. And then we'll do it like that. But then after doing more research, you're like, well, dude, there's no money in private
cost
labeling.
is gone,
yeah. Your profit margins are gone. You have to sell an outrageous amount to make any type of profit. So, you know, we kept thinking, we're like, well, dude, what does it cost to make a brewery? We looked into that and realized, wow, that's expensive. But it seemed like that was the only way to really go in order to make it a real business. So we decided, boom, me and Mikey right then and there, put up a little money to get going, and Josh became our, you know, the CEO bulldog. He immediately became an expert in all things beer, from the manufacturing process to learning about how distribution works, learning about every aspect of it, learning the margins, this and that, all that stuff. So he immediately became an expert. It seemed like overnight he could answer any question anyone ever asked. And we just went out and realized we had to raise about $2 million. None of us had ever done any type of capital raise ever.
Mm-hmm. It's fun, huh?
Well, it was fun to witness them. I was definitely not the driving force there. So Josh, Mikey, and I went out, and Josh would be, you know, basically the spokesperson or the guy doing the pitch every time. Next thing you know, we realized that there's power in numbers with skateboarders, surfers, snowboarders, the world we knew.
A network.
Right.
A big network.
Right. So we went to these guys like, look, we're all in. This is what we want to do. We got probably about 15, 20 from all the different skate, snow, surf.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went out and raised more money from actual like business people, investor guys, and blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, probably about 6 months, we raised $2 million. I mean, a lot of people can raise that money like that, but for us, never having done it before,
that's the best way to do it. It's like grassroots style.
Yeah. So we raised it, right? Immediately, then we ordered all the big brewery pieces. Boom, got the warehouse, everything, put it all together. We got a sales force, brewers. Like Josh did all the homework on everybody. Put this whole team together. We had to he had to fire probably multiple rounds of people till we finally got the right people in place, right team in place, and boom! It took us probably from when we had the idea to when the brewery opened. It took about 2.5 years, and then the brewery.
Still pretty quick. Though.
It was pretty quick. And then from when the brewery opened, it was another 2.5 years, and then we ended up selling, and Coors bought us, and so it was probably about a 5-year process from beginning to end. But we were just like, what just happened? Oh my God, how did that just occur? Like, it was just...
Well, and you took it through the whole course.
Yeah.
You took it through concept,
yeah,
to seed investing,
uh-huh,
to your first raise,
yeah,
got all the homies in, distributed it, built it out correctly, and then got acquired.
Yeah.
That is the dream for most companies.
It was unreal. It was like lightning in a bottle, literally. And
I love this
still
story.
to this day can't believe it worked out so gracefully.
Yep.
But that's the thing that really made me realize, like, all right, dude, I gotta learn my stuff, man. You know,
right.
At this point I had Primitive already going.
Mm-hmm.
I got other investments, but like these were the two brands I was involved with and got to see from scratch. Yeah.
How crazy was it when you went to that first meeting to actually pitch it to all these distributors, and you guys had all your shit together and they were blown away?
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was insane. So when we first started doing pitches, we pitched it to other skaters, and at first everybody was like, I don't know, like most of us skaters, we don't know much about business. Like, I don't know. It was either, I don't know, sounds hard, or it was like, hell yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah, it was either just like
black or white,
too scared of it, or just like, I don't care, let's do it. Yeah. And then, like, you know, we went and asked a few of our older friends who had some money, and a couple people were just straight up like, you're crazy. Nope, not happening. Nope, never in a million years. And that actually drove
that
Josh.
fuels me. Yeah, I'm the same way.
That fueled Josh so much. Like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait till we
stick it in
build
their
this.
face.
Yeah, I can't wait till
man.
we grow this and make this a success. I don't even know where I'm going with that. I lost my train of thought. But that was
so there was a point when you guys had created like a marketing deal and brought it into them.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you mean this is all you guys do?
Yeah. So when Josh was first finding out how to get distribution, and we found out that's the hardest thing to get in the beer world is distribution.
I used to work for a huge distributor. It's very difficult.
Right. It's super hard to get, and it's like, you know, political or whatever, like any other industry. And we would find out like all the beer companies, especially the biggest ones, like they did no marketing whatsoever.
Nope.
It was just like when their guys would go, their sales reps would go into the different bars and it was the keg handles, it was the coasters,
And some shirts.
and some T-shirts, or maybe like a couple little posters you hang in.
That's right.
In little stores or whatever, and that was it. And
Yep.
we were just like, wait, you guys don't, you know, make any videos, you guys don't make catalogs, you guys don't advertise, none of this.
Especially social media.
Yeah, and especially, that was right when social media was really starting to get going, and we had 20 of these athletes, all with huge social media
Big
followings, so we had
followings,
millions of followers combined, so we leveraged that to the fullest, and we had a full message we wanted to send. You know, we were an active lifestyle, California, you know, living the dream type brand that a guy in the Midwest would see like, man, I want to get down with that, man. Those guys are living
exactly.
out there, you know what I mean? So we just ran that play and just doubled, tripled down on it. And then I remember when we first got, I think it was Stone who was the first people to pick us up distribution wise.
They're smart.
And we met with all their sales reps. There was about 60 people in there. And Josh came up. He did this amazing speech. Thank you for bringing us aboard. We just, you know, we really love you, the brand, and we're really grateful for the opportunity, blah, blah. But as he's doing this, like, he put up on the screens, like, we'd like to show you a video of what our brand's about. And it was just interviews with all the different investors and athletes, and just like really cool pieces of everybody doing their thing, showing everybody highlighted interviews with them, with why they wanted to be a part of the brand, just really nailing the message, right? And like, I'm looking around the room on the sideline, I'm watching all the sales reps are just like dumbfounded. They're dumbfounded. They're like, this is genius. Like we reinvented the wheel or something.
Right.
And then after the video ends, he's like, yeah, I'd like to give you, give you guys the catalog of what we're doing. Showed all of our different beer SKUs, shirts, clothing, apparel, all of our different accessories, everything, like a full-blown brand catalog,
like you would do in your world.
Right. It was just we brought them a fully packaged thing,
marketing package.
It was just like, here you go, man, hopefully this makes your job easier.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
That's right.
And then on top of that, we had like some of the highest rated brewers there were, so it was like, we got a great tasting beer, we got a compelling story, let's go get it.
That's the recipe right there.
Yeah. And they were just like, we've never seen anything like this.
You're
no
genius.
other brand has ever done this. And we're like, to us, is like, that's what you do. That's
101.
It's exactly what you're supposed to do. And so, I don't know, for us, that was really cool to see that in that world that we were kind of innovating, even though we weren't, in our minds, we weren't doing any innovation at all. We were just doing standard stuff, you know? So it worked out really well. We started, hitting the ground running. Once Stone took over distribution, it really plugged us in. We grew from there, and then we hit this point where, in order to expand to the point, like, we finally covered all of California, and we realized if we wanted to get into other states, let alone the whole country, we'd have to go out and raise like $15-20 million
and get those big contracts,
to expand
the big distributors.
brewery, because we were brewing at full capacity and we could barely cover the state of California.
Right.
So and then we hit this crossroad, because we weren't necessarily planning to sell right then and there, because we were finding out a lot of these companies were around 20-30 years because they were so profitable that why would they sell? They were so profitable.
They're so cash heavy. Why would they ever sell? I get it.
So you're just like, but then we realized, like, oh shit, in order for us to grow out of California to become profitable,
got to reinvest and go backwards for a little bit.
Raise another $15-20 million. We didn't have that kind of money, so all of our shares would get diluted down so small. All this big money would come in. They'd get the big shares. And we were just kind of hit this crossroad, like, damn, dude, it's going to be like 10 years before we see anything from here on out, and we were all just kind of like, I don't know, man, this is a big crossroad. We want 10 years of our life plus the years it took to get to this point, to get diluted down. And it was just like, to the point where, well, let's see, the multiple was really high at that point. We weren't even profitable yet. and multiple was really high. And so Josh went out, started doing some talking, and put some feelers out there. All of a sudden, next thing you know, the big dogs were like, at that time, craft brewery was so strong. Craft brewing was such a big thing that, you know, the big dogs, Bud Lights and Coors and all
they were
these,
freaking out.
Yeah,
they were acquiring everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And Budweiser was just going on an acquiring tear, and Coors, like, you know, was not liking the fact that they were getting,
that Bud was getting a lot more market share.
The stuff, yeah. And so like Coors started like, all right, we need to get out there and find a brand, and you know, next thing you know, we just stumbled into this perfect storm of the big guys wanting to acquire
ego
these
battles.
Brands, yeah, and battle it out, and it just turned out we liked Coors' offer the best, and next thing you know, successful exit. Everybody who invested got 10 times back on their original investment, and it was like a dream. It was crazy.
Win-win.
It was I still trip on it right now.
There's nothing better than an incredible exit. I love it in real estate. We do it all the time. But sometimes, like, you'll build everything out. You're like, I can't believe they actually bought it for that.
Yeah, the perfect storm. And you're like, what just
Because
happened?
you hit the market at the perfect crescendo.
Yeah.
Everybody wants it. And it's the best, man. It's absolute best. So then you pivoted, so the water was in that process?
No.
And there's a line of juices as well, too, which we can touch on.
Right. So, you know, as this acquisition is happening, Josh Landon started talking to us, myself, Mikey Taylor, and, you know, a nice core group of the original investors of St. Archer. He started talking to us like, I got this idea. I want to go into the non-alcoholic world. I mean, we have all of these athletes at our fingertips, and most of your followers are under 21. They look up to you. They're athlete. You know, you guys are athletes. You know, like, it's a great play to, you know, go into a non-alcoholic
demographic for sure.
Health beverage kind of zone. So we started in coconut water, which was really hard because it's very competitive.
It's a saturated market too.
It's a saturated market. It's not big margins.
It's expensive to produce.
Yeah, totally. So we started that way, and, you know, taking our lumps, still going, and then we go into the water, the 9.5
the pH.
electrolyte water. Got to get that pH alkaline water going.
I crush that stuff. 1 gallon a day,
yes,
no
sir.
matter what. And my kids live on that stuff, man.
It's really good stuff. And you know, it's not because it's good because we came from beer, and I believe in a healthy balance. You know what I mean? I like enjoying some beers. I'll crack a few beers. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's a balance. You know what I mean? So I still like to live a healthy lifestyle regardless. So the message just felt a lot better for myself. And the good thing about the message about Villager is all the athletes involved, most of us had energy drink sponsors or soda sponsors at that time, and we all quit our sponsors.
You were on Mountain Dew for a minute,
I was on
right?
Mountain Dew for like almost 12, 13 years. I was on Mountain Dew for
So you had to
long
walk
time.
from Mountain Dew.
From guaranteed good money.
The gamble.
Yeah, but it was like, again,
was
you
time,
got to go
though,
where
right?
your heart,
Yeah,
it was time, and you got to go where your heart is. It was time because, you know, I started with them when I was a young kid, and they really supported me, and all my years with them is great. But now I'm an adult. Now I'm a parent. Now I'm like really thinking like, okay,
what am I going to line up
what
with?
am I feeding to my daughter? What do I give her? What do I want to push? What do I want to line? And also I'm thinking in this world of skateboarding is like, how many more years can I go depending on contracts? Like, how many more times are they going to re-sign me until finally they're going to be like, thank you, we've had enough. You know, how many times am I going to be re-signed to all of a sudden? The contract's not guaranteed every time, you know, on the re-up. So it just...
So it's on your terms now that you got to restructure your exit for your family.
Right. So it still was risky, but now it's like, okay, I'm building something here that I can't get kicked off of.
That's right.
There's no like, hey, contract's up. It's like, but still, it's got to work.
Of
you know,
course.
it has to work and become successful in order for it to mean anything in that way. But so, you know, all of us athletes who got invested and involved all left. Some of them left Rockstar, some left Red Bull, some left Mountain Dew, we all left those sponsors and decided we wanted to go in the health conscious route.
That's a great way to shock the market, though, too, and do like a massive disrupt. Like, all these athletes all left their sponsors at the same time to open their own thing. I would be freaked out if I was one of those brands going, what are they going to do next?
Right. And it was just coming right off the heels of the St. Archer exit.
That's right.
And so now, you know, there's all this good momentum. And so Villager's been out probably 2 years now, 2.5 years. Yeah. And just mid last year, we released our organic juices. Thank you.
I like it a lot.
We released our for Villager Kids organic, all organic juices. We got the pink lemonade, got the apple juice, and we got the fruit punch.
Dude, I'm gonna get down with those with my kids. They love those things.
Thank you. And we were very fortunate. We got picked up in Target for those.
Nice.
Villager water and coconut water is doing awesome on Amazon. Amazon's brought us in a big way over there. And so it's just the same grind, man. The same grind, and you know, we're just building a brand here, something that we all can really. Not that we weren't proud of St. Archer. Of course, we're proud of it.
Of course.
But this is a message we can spread to everybody, not just
and it's just
to
health.
the adults. And it's just about, you know, a good, balanced lifestyle. I'm not saying that, you know, you can't go out and have some fun either. But
that's right.
It's a good balance. I feel good about the balance it brings to the portfolio.
Exactly. And that's a great way to close this thing out with the portfolio. It was an awesome journey to watch because you went from skater kid in the Valley, stayed in the Valley, are now raising your family in the Valley, have built multiple businesses, and still going strong.
Trying, man. I'm just trying to invest smart because I want skateboarding, of course, is my passion. It's always been my passion, but my goal is to actually turn skateboarding back into my hobby.
Of course.
In the sense of like, I still want to do it at a high level, but if I have sponsors or I don't have sponsors,
who cares?
I don't want it to make that difference.
You can be an investor until you're in the ground.
That's what I'm saying.
You have a shelf life for skating. Like this body only has so many hours on the board.
Right.
You can be a high level investor until you're 150.
Right. Exactly. I want to be with Nike till the wheels fall off, no doubt about it. And I want to continue getting endorsements and all that. But face it, you know, it's just not going to always be there. Yeah. So if and when that day comes, I want to be prepared to where I can skate my ass off and not necessarily have sponsors, or if I do or don't. Yeah, I want to have the freedom to do it at my own leisure. And it's going to be on your terms. Right. Well, my man, thank you so much for having us in your beautiful home. Thank you for sharing all those incredible gems and stories. Where can everybody find you? Facebook, Instagram. I'm sure you're probably huge on Instagram. Yeah, and the guys' websites too for the brands. Right. Well, we got I got PROD 84 is my Instagram handle. PROD 84. Same thing for Twitter. And then Facebook is just Paul Rodriguez. YouTube, you can find me at PROD Vids. I've been getting more active on that lately. It's a good spot to get active. Yeah, trying to be smart in all the areas. And, of course, you got Villager Goods at villagergoods.com. We got Primitive Skate, primitiveskate.com, if you're looking for some good skateboarding and apparel. And, shout out to Nike SB. Nike. Yeah, shout out to Nike and all the love and support over the years. And those are pretty much the platforms I'm on. I love it. Go follow this guy. Go buy his products. Support his journey. He's a great dude. Thanks, we like to support good people on this journey. He's one of them. Thanks again for having us in the house, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for coming out this way. Thank you. Till next time. Peace.